The LA Rams are locked and loaded, and we haven't even hit the NFL draft yet. Hit the intro.
Perfect.
So last season, the Los Angeles Rams made the most of their acquisitions, and it took them all the way to the Super Bowl and a Vince Lombardi trophy win over the Cincinnati Bengals. Additions like Matthew Stafford and Odell Beckham Jr. helping pave the way all the way to a Super Bowl ring, among many of the other super talented players that the Rams already had on the roster. So this team, walking into the offseason, arguably was already stacked. This was a team that had just won the Super Bowl, and typically what you see after a Super Bowl is a lot of those key free agents from that team leaving, going elsewhere, cashing in, taking a big payday. Their biggest loss being Von Miller going to the Buffalo Bills on a massive 6-year, $100+ million contract. However, I don't think the Rams are really sweating it. They've already got a ton of talent currently on the roster. A couple of names I already mentioned also on the roster. Defensive Player of the Year nominee Aaron Donald, the Triple Crown winner, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, in Cooper Kupp, if I'm not mistaken, just won the Offensive Player of the Year. They've also got Jalen Ramsey, one of the best corners in the entire NFL on the roster. Leonard Floyd, another great pass rusher. And the Rams have just continued to get better. And to add to their already stacked roster, the Los Angeles Rams went out and got a couple of Pro Bowl level talents in wide receiver Allen Robinson, as well as linebacker and future Hall of Famer Bobby Wagner. And to spotlight Allen Robinson for a moment, he spent the last 4 seasons with the Chicago Bears, putting up 2 1,000-yard seasons in that time. Unfortunately, not making a Pro Bowl, and very surprisingly not making a Pro Bowl. One of those seasons even with over 100 catches. So Allen Robinson has been a very dominant wide receiver for the Chicago Bears, even with some subpar quarterback play. And this last season, the quarterback play just was not quite there. Not a lot of meshing going on with quarterbacks Justin Fields, as well as even Andy Dalton. So Allen Robinson had a really weird year, and I know fantasy owners of Allen Robinson had a very frustrating year with the wide receiver, but Allen Robinson is still one of the premier wide receiver talents within the NFL, and a huge signing for a Los Angeles Rams team that honestly has not been devoid of wide receiver talent over the last, 5 to 10 years. Cooper Kupp, obviously, Odell Beckham Jr. last season, Robert Woods getting traded away to the Tennessee Titans, but Woods was an absolutely prolific wide receiver, helped take them to Super Bowl 53, and many, many more along the way. So the Los Angeles Rams and wide receivers are pretty much a hand-in-hand, partnership. And I fully expect Allen Robinson to be a great wide receiver addition for this Los Angeles Rams team. I think he's going to complement very, very nicely alongside wide receiver Cooper Kupp. I think it's honestly just a great scheme fit for Sean McVay and company. And then on the defensive side, Bobby Wagner coming down from the Seattle Seahawks, the former All-Pro Pro Bowler who made the 2010s All-Decade team, is a future Hall of Famer and still has plenty left in the tag. Signed him to a 5-year, $50 million with guarantees and incentives over $60 million, if I'm not mistaken. Bobby Wagner has spent plenty of time in Seattle making opposing wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends pay in the open field. Still plenty of explosiveness left in that step. And I think Bobby Wagner added to this defense that already had premier and elite top-end talent on the defensive line and the secondary. You've now put one of the best linebackers in the NFL, period, in the middle of that defense, directing traffic and helping make key decisions for a defense that, again, was already one of the best in the NFL. And then one more guy I want to talk about within their free agency signing period is a notable re-signing of Joseph Noteboom, their left tackle for the future. Signed him to a 2-year with technically it's a 4-year, 2 years on with 2 voidable years. Very sizable, chunky contract. I think they're taking a little bit of a boom or bust gamble on Noteboom, but if anybody has seen how this kid has performed over the last 4 years, it's obviously going to be the Los Angeles Rams. It's not like they're picking up somebody coming off the street that they haven't seen in their camps, they haven't seen more than on the film. And when Noteboom has been on the field, he has been a very solid starter. A little bit of an injury history there, but sitting behind and learning from one of the all-time greats at the left tackle position in Andrew Whitworth has done nothing but good things for Noteboom's career. I think the Rams have a lot of confidence in him, and they've already patched up, so to speak, a hole left by, again, Andrew Whitworth in his retirement. And all of those big moves have happened before the NFL draft. GM Les Snead's motto has to be F them picks, because he has traded away so much future draft capital for the Los Angeles Rams to bring home a Super Bowl. However, the methods worked, brought them home a championship this past season. So Les Snead has a lot of depth to kind of pick up in this NFL draft. With 8 NFL draft picks, only one of them going to be on day 2, and none of them within the top 100, the Los Angeles Rams, with their draft capital this year, are very likely going to be looking for a lot more depth and possibly some diamonds in the rough, as they are picking 7 of those 8 picks on day 3. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if they package a couple of those picks to move back into the top 100 of this year's NFL draft. There's probably a few prospects that they like that they're not going to be able to really get their hands on, obviously in round 1, maybe in round 2, but possibly round 3. The Los Angeles Rams are a very loaded roster already right now. I put them up there with some of the best in the NFL, if not the best in the NFL from the top down. However, they just need some more depth in various positions throughout the entire team. Running back, I think they could use a little bit more depth on. Wide receiver, outside of Kupp and Robinson and Jefferson, I think they could probably just use a couple little more pieces as nice fill-in roster spots. Along the offensive line, outside tackle, interior offensive lineman, linebacker in general, they could probably still use a little bit more depth on, and maybe just getting a few more pieces within that secondary. But again, this Los Angeles Rams team has a lot of very good vets, has a lot of top-end talent all on the roster, and I think the decisions the Rams are probably going to be making come NFL draft time are very much so going to be decisions that are just going to try to help add to the depth of this roster. Going to be some guys that they're just going to give very specific roles to, very specific jobs, going to be very package-worthy guys. And honestly, I think there is a general risk reward here when you're picking this many picks late in the draft. You're getting a lot of guys that are going to be very hungry. These are not day 1 picks. These are not very likely going to be a lot of day 2 picks. You're going to see a lot of day 3 guys that are just trying to eat, and they're trying to put themselves right in a position to make this roster, to make a championship level roster, be a part of a team that could very well go on to win a Super Bowl. But the last thing I want to look at is the upcoming schedule and the upcoming opponents for this Los Angeles Rams team. Now, coming off of a championship, this team is still very loaded and could very well compete with just about anybody in the entire NFL. So I very easily can say this is a playoff level team, and obviously going to be a Super Bowl contender within the NFC. But let's just take a look at some of their opponents. At home, of course, they're playing within the NFC West, so of course they're going to be seeing the Seattle Seahawks, Arizona Cardinals, and San Francisco 49ers at home. But they're also going to be seeing teams like the Carolina Panthers, Atlanta Falcons, Dallas Cowboys, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Denver Broncos. Among that list of teams at home with home field advantage, I think the Rams could very well find themselves winning 7 of those 8 games. And now let's take a look at the away teams. And again, NFC West, Seattle, Arizona, and San Francisco. But what you're going to see right after that is going to be the New Orleans Saints, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Green Bay Packers, Kansas City Chiefs, and the Los Angeles Chargers. Not technically an away game for the Rams to be playing the Chargers. Heck, they play in the same stadium. You could very well chalk this up that the Rams are going to kind of have 9 home games this upcoming season. But with that schedule, I think there's a lot of very good away teams and a lot of good away games that are probably going to be playing this season. The NFC West, even with Seattle taking kind of hitting the reset button this offseason, is still a really strong division with a lot of very good coaches and players, especially the Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers, who surprised the Rams last season splitting that series. I wouldn't be super shocked if they're splitting both of those series home and away with both of those teams. And among the rest of the NFC and the rest of the NFL, they're going to be playing away. I wouldn't be shocked if they can kind of come out of those away games with 4 to 5 wins. I think overall this Los Angeles Rams team is very much so an 11 to 13 win team as of the moment. And like I said, they're going to be getting better in the draft. They're getting a lot more depth in this year's NFL draft. I think this LA Rams team absolutely has the potential to be seeing themselves in Super Bowl, 57. So a stacked up squad, great head coach in Sean McVay, very aggressive GM in Les Snead, and a desire to win by everybody on this roster. The LA Rams are absolutely in the driver's seat in the NFC right now, in the position to go right back to the Super Bowl. I know this is really early on, kind of a prediction video, the way too early prediction series that worked really well for us last year, kind of bringing it back. And if this is the first one, kick it off with the defending champs. They've absolutely earned to be the first team spotlighted on this list. We're going to see a number of teams throughout this entire offseason post-NFL draft, of course, we're going to be predicting, we're going to be taking a look within this series as to, you know, just how much of potential these teams do have. And I'm excited to see you guys joining me along the way. Thank you so much for watching the video. Of course, feel free to stick around, like, comment, share, subscribe, and of course, get the bell on to know every single time I'm dropping a video. My name is Tristan Blake Rines. I'm going to catch you in the next one. Adios.